There's a car in the canal, upturned in the canal, like underneath all the water.
Today, the Goodman jury hears a series of 911 calls made in the wake of that deadly car crash. Among those calls, one from John Goodman himself. Good evening. I'm Michael Williams.
I'm Shannon Cakin tonight for Kelly Dunn. A compelling day of evidence from start to finish today in the DUI manslaughter case against the polo mogul. But not all of the evidence was presented in court.
The jury took a trip to the loading dock outside the courthouse for a first-hand look at the mangled cars involved in that fateful and fatal crash.
We have team coverage tonight led by News Channel 5's anchor Jay Cashmere tonight. Jay?
Michael, Shannon, compelling a day to say the least. With all the evidence that was brought forward today, it really made for a very, very emotional day in court. And it all began at 8:30 when PBSO Deputy Troy Snellgrove took the stand. He spent the entire day the star witness for the prosecution in this case. Troy Snellgrove is probably the closest person to this crash investigation than anyone. He has forensically mapped this scene. He has reconstructed this crash scene. And today he opened up his war chest for the prosecution, unloading a wealth of information. Today inside court, we saw detailed pieces of evidence. We saw a 3D animation of the impact crash site. We also, as you mentioned, saw the two vehicles. Jurors were taken away from the jury box downstairs. They viewed the mangled wreckage of that Bentley and that Hyundai. They brought the mangled wreckage to the Palm Beach County Courthouse. Those jurors got to see a firsthand account, a face-to-face account, looking at those cars and the mangled wreckage from the point of impact. We also heard the 911 calls today, not just from witnesses, but also the voice of John Goodman himself, that 911 call that he made 54 minutes after the crash. My colleague Ashley Walters is covering this case today, breaking down all the key components from today. She joins me live from the other side of the Palm Beach County Courthouse. And Ashley, what an emotional day today, just with the photographic and physical evidence that was presented.
It certainly was an emotional day. There was just a wealth of information, and the jurors truly had to consider so much evidence regarding this particular crash in these particular moments. The scene outside the courtroom drew a crowd of media and passers-by. The wreckage of John Goodman's Bentley and Scott Wilson's Hyundai dragged to a loading dock so jurors could see them up close, while the Wilson family and Goodman looked on. In the courtroom, traffic homicide investigator Troy Snellgrove explained the significance of photos of the scene.
It was apparent that the Bentley had went through the stop sign.
The Bentley outweighing the Hyundai by 2,000 pounds, shoving it into a nearby canal. Then a key point of which the defense and prosecution disagree. Did Goodman walk directly to Lisa Pembleton's trailer after the crash, or did he go to a bar nearby to drink?
They were boot prints, but they were more like a square-toed boot with a heel, walking southbound on 120th, away from the crash scene.
Snellgrove says the prints led only towards the hard-packed earth near the trailer.
They went down in front of the property where Mr. Goodman was located.
Snellgrove has made more than 500 DUI arrests in his career. He met Goodman that night at the hospital, taking blood samples about 3 hours after the crash.
I did notice that his eyes were bloodshot and glassy. I did smell the odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from his person. I saw that he was a little bit slow in his movements, and he was slurring his speech.
The jury now asked to consider the technical evidence and 911 tapes to understand what happened that night. Now, Mr. Snellgrove, the traffic homicide investigator, did testify today regarding the speed of those two cars involved, and he says that the Bentley could not have possibly stopped before accelerating to the 63 miles per hour that he estimates that car to have been traveling during the accident. Also, another interesting tidbit, all Palm Beach County prosecutors will be re-sworn in tomorrow by the new state attorney who was sworn into office today. That will happen before court starts tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Jay?
Some late-breaking developments in this case. Thank you very much, Ashley Walters, continuing our team coverage on the DUI manslaughter case of John Goodman. Well, the stage is set for tomorrow after a big, powerful, emotional day today. More star witnesses coming forward tomorrow for the prosecution. The defense, of course, has their round, their arsenal to unload next week. The jury could get this case, and I say could get this case, by Thursday.